There's additional costs that we did talk about when we were going through the grid. And Arvind, I'd love to get your perspective on what is the true cost of customer acquisition as it pertains to, the revenue capture, based on what Ted mentioned, and then adding in, the various fees that typically, some hoteliers may not, put the two together.
Thank you, Inder. That's a great question and a pretty powerful and deep one. So if we were to look at it very simplistically, there's a B2B channel, a business to business channel, and a business to consumer channel. So each one, as you build out the customer acquisition cost, it has its own framework. But here we'll focus on direct, but the principles are broadly the same. So let's dive in a bit. So customer acquisition cost, in a very simplistic way, is marketing expenses divided by the revenue generated by the customer. So take a very simple example, going with your grid. If $10 are spent on paid search to generate, say, a $200 revenue from a customer, then the customer acquisition cost is $10 in this example, and in a percentage form, it's say 5%. So it's pretty straightforward when you look at it for a singular channel, right? But what makes it somewhat more nuanced and a bit more complex than that is the various layers. And it's really a thought process and a framework that we need to lay it out for our owners and stakeholders. So the first one is, very simplistically looking at it, whether it's a B2B and B2C. B2B is typically less complex, though, because it's just a commission that you're paying out and it's pretty explicit. So you know that a wholesaler would be charging, say, 20 to 25% of your commission cost, and that comes up as a customer acquisition cost. But the other layer to look at it, especially in the direct space, is what is a repeat purchase? So if a consumer walks through the door the first time around through a wholesaler, and then subsequently the next 5 stays on that year were coming through directly, the lifetime value of the consumer is very different. And therefore, the customer acquisition cost comes down from, say, 20% in the first instance down to 4% or 3%, depending on how frequently the customer stays with you. The other way to look at it is also the time period, because what we are selling as a hotel product is a perishable product. So if the room is not sold today, then it's a lost opportunity. So the time period is really a crucial component. If a guest is coming through a third-party channel, through a wholesaler, for example, during a low demand period, during a particularly hot summer month in a ski resort, that's brilliant. It's additive. So that adds a layer of complexity one needs to think through. It's a market as well. So if a consumer is coming from a far off market, an international market, into your hotel where you have no sales presence in that marketplace, which is purely additive as well. So it's bringing in a net new customer. That's something to think through. So what I'm trying to say is build out a framework, get alignment of this framework from the various stakeholders, because there is no industry definition of customer acquisition cost. So build that out, get an alignment, and then the whole objective is, once you define it, is to double down on the lowest channel customer acquisition cost by period. So that would give some kind of a clarity to answer your question.